Okay, so if you recall, what was our Shiloh from yesterday?
About sharing the screen.
I know. That's what I'm asking. What was our Shiloh from yesterday?
Fine, very
Yeah. What was the Shiloh?
good. We should put it up.
It's about the going into the exchanging money outside the.
There you go. Okay. So there are two guys who are online at the money changer, and they realize that they can help each other without having to pay the fee of the money changer. So are they permitted to do so? So that's where we left off. So Hagemara Omeret b'Maseches Bava Basra. So here's the background. The Gemara says in Bava Basra, Marchikin mitzudas hadag min hadag kimaloritzas hadag ad parsa. That in dealing with fishermen, who are trapping fish in their nets, it says you have to distance one trap from another trap, kimalo ritzisas hadag ad parsa, the distance that it takes a fish to swim, let's say, a reasonable amount away from its current habitat, which is a parsa. How much is a parsa? It's 4 mil. A mil is approximately a kilometer. So it's a long distance. Yeah. And that's, it's usually in reference to a river. But anyway, that's what a river or an ocean. Kolomar Adam shahalach latzud dagim. V'sam ladogim ochel o sha'ar mizonot kidei yavo'u val yedei yitfesem. So what did a person do? He set up a trap, a net, and he put in bait. And he did so that the fish should be attracted to come to him so that he could catch them. Asur lidayagim acherim lavo bigvulo v'latzud et hadagim sheru et ha'ochel v'hitkarvu elav. The other fishermen are not permitted to come within his vicinity. Let's say, what's the word I'm looking for? They're exploiting his bait that he put out. He might have put out some very expensive bait in the hope of catching, the king crab or whatever it is. I don't know whatever they're trapping, and they want to be able to enterprise off of his investment of this expensive bait. So they put their traps next to his. They're not allowed to do that. Goes low. He says, because since he's already set up his traps, it is as if the fish are already in his traps, in a sense, the fish in that vicinity. And therefore, anyone who comes after him to set up his own trap is stealing from that first fisherman. Okay, so each fisherman, now obviously, there's limitations to this. If you're in a big lake, then, it may not be as far as for a parsa. And this is really more for a river. But it could be that we're more lenient as far as distances. But the principle is the same. The principle is that when a person sets down bait in order to trap fish, you can't exploit his efforts in order to get your own fish, because it turns out it's a form of gezel from him. Nimsa lefizeh, it turns out, according to this, Adam shehechlit liknoto limkor et hadolarim me'achange. So if a person had already decided that he was either going to buy or sell dollars from the exchange kiosk, uba ligvulo, dahailo to chanuto, and he comes already into his store, into that little kiosk area. Ze b'diuk domeh ledagim shebo ligvulo shel miniach hamizonot ledagim. Then that is exactly like a person who's already set up his apparatus, his bait, and his trap for the fish. And that's the money exchange guy. He's got a big sign, a neon sign that says change. He's paying his rent, He's got everything set up. Uchamo shesham nifsak bahalacha she'asur la'achirim litfos dagim elu achar shabo ligvulo. And just like the Gemara says in its Paskand in Shulchan Aruch, that other people are not allowed to catch fish that are in his vicinity already, hu hadin binidon didan, the asr la'acher lakachat lakuach shehigia la change. So you're also not allowed to get a hold of someone who's already appeared and is already a buyer who's already there at the currency exchange. Because if so, and it's a form of stealing from the store owner. Lachain, Adam shelokeach, kona omocher batuach mechavero, nechshav kior lumnusu shel chavero va'aser. And therefore, anyone who does so, if a person goes ahead and buys or sells from his friend in the currency exchange place, it is as if he is already going and taking away another person's parnasa, and therefore it's usher. So you have to realize, it doesn't have to be specifically the currency exchange. We could probably think of other instances where a person has set up a shop selling widgets, and another guy walks along seeing all the people who are interested in buying widgets and gives them a business card that says widgets 25% off. That again is, so what are some real world cases?
What about a shop that sells widgets? I mean, you open up another shop right next door that sells widgets as well.
So that's harder to say that it's going to be usher.
You don't have the distance like you do with the nets.
You don't have the distance, but the customers haven't come yet. In other words, that's the difference. If customers have specifically come to this store because they know this is where you buy widgets and you try to pull them away, that's different. If two widget stores get set up across the street from each other, so most of the time that's going to be legal, unless the community cannot sustain two widget stores. You understand? So that would be the only time where the first widget store could take you to the second widget store to Basin and say, it's going to eventually, one of us is going to go out of business and it's not fair. It's unfair competition, what you're doing. But in most situations, the Gemara says that in that case, anyone, let the best man win. You want to give out the kids candies in order to attract them to your store, so you can give out, a free tasting stations, whatever. In other words, there's always a way to do fair competition. Like Olive Branch opens up a few blocks away from Sobeys, so let the best man win. There's enough clientele in the neighborhood to sustain these stores, maybe not with the same volume that they used to have, but that's perfectly legal according to halacha. Especially if the claim is that we can provide you better service and we're offering a slightly different product as far as either service or product. Yeah. Okay.
But it should be a limit, because if you are in a service and you see somebody buying oranges, and you can tell, I saw it on sale on Olive. It's not your business, but you're giving the tip that is cheaper in their store. Do you stealing? Are you making the store to lose money because they're going to send that person to there? Because it's not that it's not your business. But you see somebody buying a matzah.
Right. Yeah, or let's say even before Olive Branch opened, no frills. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's cheaper at no frills. That's the question, is that if you see a person buying huge amounts and you want to save them money, you can say, I think it's still legal to say to them, you may want to buy that particular item somewhere else, because the guy might be buying other items too. I'm not sure that I would have the same problem of Yored Lu'umnus Chavero if there's price differentials and the person is buying other items there at Sobeys too. You can say to him, "Oh, the oranges are cheaper at No Frills, or at Olive Branch. They're running a special sale. You may want to go there for the oranges."
WhatsApp groups where the women tell each other.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
But in the case
Now,
of,
we have Wyatt has a what Smart Shoppers WhatsApp group.
but in the case of, for example, the person is actually in the shop buying closing goods, they've got their bag of oranges.
Yeah, it's
So
a
what's the
yeah,
difference between the person standing in the line at the currency exchange? And to me, I think that's a perfect example of where it is something.
well, it's not because you're giving
You're
him.
not making money, it's a
Yeah,
store.
number one, you're not making money. Number two, you're providing information. You're not actually conducting an exchange. The case that we're dealing with over here is where there's actually, instead of changing my money with the money changer, I'm going to exchange money with a private person who's actually, we're doing a business deal. So that you're not allowed to do. But to give a person information, I don't think is as problematic. Anyway.
Another example of it might be a scalping concert or sports tickets.
Yeah,
Stand outside and say, here guys, before you go to the kiosk, you're a deal, right?
exactly. But I think that in that situation, they don't, I believe it's illegal, is it
Yeah.
not?
No, for higher price, not lower prices.
Yeah, for more money.
Yeah, if you want to get rid of tickets, you can do it, lower price, not about the
Yeah.
price.
Yeah,
Same
not supposed to.
way, it's not about.
Okay, let's take a look at the Makor Baruch. Ayin Sham B'Gemara, to Amar of Huna, there, by the way, there are people who deliberately go to let's say the Scotia Center or whatever, and they look for the scalpers because they're looking for a last minute deal. And so if it's already understood that that's what people do, and the authorities don't prevent it from happening, then maybe it's okay. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure because ultimately the place, the venue is making money, and the performer is making money. So everyone's making money, but at a slightly lower margin, and perhaps they recognize that this is ultimately for the benefit of the venue. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about.
The scalpers already paid for the ticket. So the venue and the entertainment or whoever there has got their value, whether he's bought it.
Well, he only bought it in order to be able to scalp it.
No, but he bought it maybe a season ticket or has some way of getting them at a slightly lower price, but he's paid for it. So that money's already been transferred.
Yeah, but he's only doing it so that he can make money off of it.
Sure.
Okay, so it could be that if everyone is looking the other way, then maybe it's not so terrible. I'm not 100% convinced.
Like the scalper is the.
Well, there is an issue of Dina de Malchusa, but we learned already also before that if the government itself is not upholding the law, so then sometimes Dina de Malchusa doesn't always apply. Like if, for example, the speed limit is 100 kilometers per hour on the 427, but the police will not stop you as long as you're going under 120, then I don't think that it's that there's a problem of going 119. Okay. Anyway, all right. What does the Makor Baruch say? He says, Ayin Sham B'Gemara, the Amar of Huna, Asr le'echad mibnei hamavoy lahamid rechayim im kvar chaveru hemid sham rechayim lefanav keven shalokech miparnasaso. The Gemara gives a similar case in addition to fishermen, that Rav Huna says that it is prohibited from one of the members of the Mavoy in that neighborhood to set up a mill if his friend, like a milling area that people would set up a mill and people would bring their whole wheat and they would bring it to a miller and the miller would grind it for them and turn it into flour. And then they would do that for a commission. Okay. Im kvar chaveru hemid sham rechayim lefanav keven shalokeach mi parnasaso. If another person had already set up a milling station further into the Mavoi, because you're not allowed to set up another one because you're taking away his parnasa. There, the reason why it's a problem is because it's not across the street one from the other, but rather it's further. The old miller is further into the mavoi than the new miller. So anyone who's going to walk into the mavoi is going to hit the new miller before getting to the old miller. The Amr Sham HaGemara Lema Misayele Marchikin Mitsudas Hadag Min Hadag Kimela Ritzas Hadag V'chulei Vim Kain Zeraya Ravuna. So the Gemara says, is this not the same case as the case of setting up a trap for fish after a person had already set up a trap for fish in the vicinity? And so the Gemara says not necessarily so. V'dachza Gemara shiny dagim the Yahavi Siara. And the Gemara deflects that and says, no, there's a difference between fish and people. What's the difference between fish and people? So the Gemara uses a term of the Yahavi Siara. And Rashi explains that term to mean Adagim notnim ayin bahabatam lihiyot noagim larutz lamakom sharo sham mizonot. The fish run to a place wherever they see food. Hilkach kevin shehikir zech huro v'natan mizonot betoch malo ritzato shel hadag. And therefore, once a person put down food near the fish's hole, like fish have like holes or coves where they will hide in the river. Okay, so if a guy knows where the fish hang out and he puts food there in that vicinity, batuachu sheyilchadenu, then he's almost assured that he's going to be able to catch the fish. And therefore it's as if your friend, it's as if the fish have already entered into his nets and your friend is damaging you. But with a millstone shop, why can't the second miller can say, what's stopping people from coming to you? Just like they're coming to me, they can come to you. People who are closer to that end of the mavoi will come to you. People are closer to this end of the mavoi will come to me. Therefore, it shouldn't necessarily be prohibited. People have free choice. It's not like fish who almost act by instinct. So we're going to have to see why then is there a difference. If the Gemara makes a difference between fish and human beings, why are we allowed to apply the case of the fish to a case of humans? And that's something that we'll look at in Mirz Hashem next time. Sorry for my lateness today. We'll hold it here.